What's up, everyone? Welcome back to episode number 22 of the Evening Double podcast. Appreciate you guys hopping on. It was a good one with me and Keeton talking about the first we started with Josh Kerr breaking the mile record. What a accomplishment that was, what it was like. Went through his splits, and we can all agree we were wrong. So we're happy for him. We've turned into fans. I think everyone's turned into fan of him. So really cool stuff there. Talked about Keaton's race in the ATA Champs. He was happy, but still wanted to do a little more. So we dove into the race weekend, and everything with that. Talked about what he's going to be doing training going forward, taking a little bit of downtime before he starts building for the Indy Half Marathon this fall, and then kind of talked a little bit about myself. Got a couple 5Ks coming up, less than a month out from the 100 miler, and then the build to CIM will begin. So we just talked a little bit of everything there. And then our last topic was vacation running. You know, a lot of people take vacations at this time. I was just on one in Gulf Shores. He's currently out in down in West Palm. I talked about how you stay focused to keep running on vacation, how you find the right spots, and everything like that. So we hope you enjoy the episode. As always, if you do enjoy the Evening Double podcast, we appreciate you giving us a like, share it with a friend, leave us a rating. Everything helps to help us grow. And also, me and Keaton also have our own coaching. If you are interested in coaching for an upcoming block, just let us know. Reach out. We'll be happy to give you a call for a free evaluation. If you had any other questions, anything, feel free to shoot us a DM on Instagram, probably the easiest way, or just look in the show notes. We got different ways of getting in touch with us. Without further ado, we hope you enjoy episode number 22. Episode 22, we're live.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Evening Double podcast. Eric and I here got a pretty exciting breakdown, I think, of this weekend. I personally got to race a little bit, not as exciting as Josh Kerr's world record, but pretty dang close. And then Eric's been getting good training in going into this block, so it's been good so far. But yeah, we'll kind of get into a little bit of the weekend. I really kind of wanted to just start with what we saw over the weekend in London in that Diamond League race with Josh Kerr. Um, Pretty like, even if you're a runner and more of a fan of the roads, it was pretty wild to watch. Pretty wild to
Yeah.
see the splits, especially when you break it down to a 400-meter split each lap, and it was just unreal to see what he was doing. It's you always know a record is really hard to get when the hardest part of the record attempt is getting pacers that can take you through three-quarters of the race, because it's so hard for somebody to even hit three-quarters of what you're trying to do. So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, what were your first kind of takes on it? And I know that you're a little bit more new into the running world, but like a mile in 3:42.66 is like incomprehensible to me, to be honest. So what was your first takes?
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. We're all wrong. We did not think
Yes.
he was gonna do it, which, I mean, a lot of people probably thought the same thing because he's really not, he's fast, but he's not one of the top fastest guys, you would say. He wouldn't be on your
Yeah.
radar, maybe top 3 of people that you would say, "Hey, if someone, set everything up perfect to break a mile, he probably wouldn't be on that top 3." He'd definitely be probably in your top 10, but he wouldn't be that guy that you would think would do it. But it was so cool. I mean, to see the packed arena or stadium for him, and that was cool. As you said in the last pod, it would have been awesome for it to set up for an American to somehow do it there, but to see him do that, I'm a fan. I mean, he said he put himself out there. He said, "I'm going to do this," and he did it. Which, I mean, bravo, good for him, man.
Yeah. It was a pretty wild thing, and kudos to him for putting his putting his neck out there and calling his shot. 4 months in advance, which was really cool because it's easy, I think, to kind of put no pressure on yourself and get in shape and then run a good race. And then it kind of get some publicity or some response from that. But there's another level to calling your shot, getting the accountability of being in shape, putting that kind of social pressure and performance pressure on yourself to like live up to the shot you're calling. What I think is a very different kind of approach to goal setting when you're putting it that public. And he was really betting on himself. He pitched to Brooks in the beginning that like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to shoot for it. Can you give me the sponsorship and the added support that might be needed to do it? And luckily for him, Brooks, said, we'll bet on you with you and go for this. So it was a great race. I'm super excited for him. Like you said, really would love for that record to come back to the United States. Some people say that the record belongs in Great Britain after the guys of like Seb Coe and oh shoot, and I'm blanking on his name. Seb Cohen. Shoot, there's another British miler. I'm blanking on his name. Sorry, British guys. I would love to see it in the U.S. Shout out Jim Ryan being the guy that, as a high schooler, was taking it to the world and breaking records there. So I think it should end up in the U.S. at some point. But if it's not going to be in the U.S., we'll take it in Great Britain for now and give it back to some of those guys. And but it was super cool. Some of the cool stats from it, and you'll probably see a bunch of them, and especially in different podcasts throughout the week, is that his fastest 100 meters was 13.5, and his slowest was 14.3 seconds, and those both came in the first lap. So that was a pretty
Crazy.
wild split. Like every one of these was just pretty much like 13 between 13.5 and 13.7. And then 14.0 was and then back down to like 13.7 or so for his last 100. Some very even splits. And it was super cool to see how he went for it, stuck in it. The pacer dropped that at a K, and yet he was still, like, I've got 600 to go. I'm going to do it. I don't need a pacer to be here. So they called it the ballsiest record in track and field, is what some of the announcers were saying. So shout out Josh. I think that's a pretty fitting description for it. Pretty excited for him. But yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I was going to take
And
a little
I
bit through
guess
some of the splits here.
I
Just imagine it for your everyday listener. Like, you
yeah.
don't run a mile. You run runs with normal miles all the time, whatever they may be. They're not your fastest mile, but if you were going to run a fastest mile, just kind of imagine this here. 455.3 seconds. 800 was in a total of 151.1, which was a 55.8. 1200, he hit 246, which was a 55.4 second lap. And then his last lap was 54.9 to bring him to a 1600 mark of 341.4, and then about 1.2 seconds for his last 9.3 meters to get that to be the full mile.
Mhm.
So average of 55.3 seconds per lap. So imagine going out and running a 27.65, and that's going to be for 200, and that's going to be your average pace for a mile. Is quite wild to even imagine. Um, so shout out to Josh. That's unbelievable record. We haven't seen it since 1999. So it's been almost 26 years, 4 years since we've seen a mile world record in our life. And, you know, glad to be a part of, I'm not a part of history, but glad to witness history. That's what I should say.
Yeah. I guess I got a couple questions to hear what your thoughts are, going forward here. It's first time in what, 27 years that this record has been broken. Um, what do you think that means going forward for running? Maybe the mile, maybe whatever. What do you think that kind of means? I mean, it's a tough question. It's a very open question, but you know,
Mhm.
what does that mean?
I think it might be a slightly open question, but I think it's a pretty good one. Is, in the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of the masses or the medium pack or middle of the pack performances really elevate. So I think like we've seen some progression in some of the records like this on Jakob has been taking down some 2 mile, 3K, 2K kind of records. Cheptegei in 2021 took down the 5 and the 10K records. Marathon records have been going down recently with Sebastian Salway. So we've been seeing some inching downs of the top end records, which I think we'll continue to see every few years. But I think it kind of opens the doors for some of the people in that middle pack, some of the guys that were in this race, like a Robert Farken, for example, from Germany, who finished fourth, ran 346. In his head, he came out of that race and was like, I think I could have run a little bit better. Um, and had he run 346 and won the race, he might not think he could do much better. So I think kind of seeing the visual of somebody running 342 has got to give a lot of the guys that have run 346 and finished close to Josh in different races, got to give them the confidence that they could run closer to that. So I think that it'll continue to elevate the middle to top end of the pack of runners and racers, and it will only inspire some of the youth to continue to pursue that. Josh was saying that he's been inspired. Like that's been a goal of his for a long, long time, and I can't help but think that he was getting some motivation from previous records and seeing people run close to that record and run fast. And so those were like wake up calls for him. Like, hey, if they can do this, then I can show up and do it myself and put the work in and accomplish that. So that's what I think it'll do for the sport is just going to continue to elevate. I think we'll see some more college kids run crazy times, some more teens run some crazy times. But I think this is a record that'll stand for at least until Jakob gets healthy enough to break it. I think Jakob's still the best time trialer in the world. So if Jakob can get healthy and break it, I think he will. But if not, if he can't get healthy and get back to form, I think this one's going to stand for a while.
Yeah. That actually was my next question that I wanted to hear because, well, for one, backing off what you said, I mean, if this is not inspiring to anyone, kids growing up or whatever, I don't know what is. I think everyone would want to be in his shoes right now. But yeah, I was wondering, it's been 27 years since that record has been broken. How long do you think this one stands?
I don't think it'll stand 27 years or 26 years, however long it was. I do think that I don't see anyone like no one's going to break it again this year. I don't think that there's another mile that's set up for this. Lucky for Josh, the mile is more of a race that's every now and then, such as like the Oslo Dream Mile. London is hosting the mile this year because I think it was a request of Josh. I don't think it was a typical thing for them. Pre-classic is always a mile, and the Bowerman mile, and they've gotten close to it. Josh and or Yard and Jakob, for example, ran 343 just a couple of years ago in that race. So it's doable when it's an event that is ready to be run. It's a little bit less frequent than the 1500. There's a lot of chances for 1500s. I don't think I could pinpoint a certain timeline. I think and I could see it lasting another 10 to 15 years, but I could also kind of see it like going down in the next like 4 or 3, just like somebody in the next 2 years. Like you got to be thinking Cole Hawker is in his head saying, well, I'm the Olympic champ. This guy I beat in a race that was faster than like this race in London and his Diamond League race, Josh in the in route split for his 1500 was his PB over 1500. So therefore, Cole Hawker has a faster 1500 PB than Josh Kerr. So he's got to be thinking in his head, knowing Cole Hawker, that he could run this record. And I don't think anybody in the world could tell Jakob Ingebrigtsen that he's not capable of running this record. So I think there's a couple good guys in the next couple of years that'll take some cracks at it, but it's a tough race. It's got to be all the conditions got to be pretty perfect to get it. So I wouldn't be doubtful that it lasts 5 to 10 years and this be the one we talk about for a while, or the contrary. Some guys take it in the next just like 2.
Yeah, I personally think that this record will fall quicker than people may think. I just have a feeling that I don't know. I just think that once something gets broken like that, I feel like it's gonna tumble a couple more times in the next few
Yeah.
years. But I could be wrong. I mean, people probably said that, back in 1999. But that's just my honest opinion. I mean, last question, I guess. Hearing what you think is what do you think is going to be next for Kerr? Has he said anything about what's going to be going forward? I mean, you can't get much higher in a plateau or on the hill than he is right now.
Yeah, and that's what, I remember I was listening to some things about his coach, that was saying, I think it's Danny Mackey of the Bricks Beast, and he was saying that he believes that Josh Kerr can get in this shape again at some point. Like, this wasn't the last chance that he could have, gotten in this shape to do it. I'm guessing they're kind of licking their chops, thinking that, this could be the time that they could go for the 1500-meter world record as well. It's got to be pretty close to the same fitness. I think the mile one was slightly easier in like the World Athletics conversions rankings for, I think it was 3:26.00 is the 1500 world record. So I think that he's got to be pretty close to that shape. I don't think he's going to be able to double dip with. There's just not that many opportunities to get that one set back up, in a small window of peaking. So I think that I don't think he's going to time trial to break that world record unless somebody breaks it in the next 1 or 2 years. Like, I don't see him doing that again after the next 2 years. But the thing that's been elusive from him is, he's got a world championship gold and he's got a Olympic bronze and silver, but he doesn't have Olympic gold. So 2028 Olympic 1500, I'm guessing that gold medal right there is everything he's been thinking about outside of this world record.
Yeah.
And that's where his eyes will be set. But I think he's going to run the I don't think he's gonna run European Championships this summer, but I do think he's gonna run the home, Commonwealth Games, which is in Glasgow in Scotland, where he is from. So I think he's gonna do that, try to get the gold there. That'd be a great race, one of the better races of the year, because the Commonwealth also includes Kenya, so that'll have Reynold and Timothy Chariot, as well as like Jake Whiteman, who's a former Olympic champ, who's in great shape in his own right. So we're going to see kind of a battle between, like Cam Myers, Josh Kerr, some of the Kenyan contingents, and some other Australians and stuff. So, and Jake Whiteman of the Great Britain. So, and a couple other sleepers, and I'm not even thinking of at the moment. So, I think that's his plan so far. It's what I've kind of heard. Going to be some exciting races. I think the Commonwealth 1500 is going to be the one of the year, outside of maybe a return of Jakob at Europeans if he gets healthy enough. But it'll be pretty good. It's one thing to be in time trial shape. I think it's a slightly different thing to be in race shape, especially with like tactical things like semifinals, finals, and things like that. So requires just a little bit of specificity of gear change and I mean mainly gear change and composure through the rounds. So we'll see if that world record shape translates to him just being able to kill everybody at the end of the race, or someone might be ready for a tactical race and blow his doors out the last 200. So it'd be interesting, but that's what I think is going to be on his plate for the next little bit.
Yeah, no, that's great. You want to transition out of that? I mean, congratulations, Josh Kerr. That was awesome. Let's talk a little bit about you. 8K champs this past weekend. Uh, from my end, it looked like a very solid race. I would like to hear a little bit of your thoughts. We can kind of take it all the way through the weekend because I think it's interesting, especially with race being so late at night. I'm interested in like what you did that day. But for
Yeah.
people who haven't heard the results, Keeton finished 13th overall. Ran a time of 24:27, so maybe not his exact time with the 4:55 per mile, but obviously it was not the coolest, most ideal conditions. Let him
Yeah.
talk about it a little more because I mean everyone's time was higher than I think people would expect. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess just talk a little bit about the weekend, like going in, what it was like, being there as a participant in that, and then kind of walk me through the morning of and that day.
Yeah, it was super cool experience. This was my first US championship or USATF sponsored event. Was really grateful to just be accepted into the entries and things. I fortunately have run some 8K times in college and cross country, so it kind of gave me a direct um like, I guess, a competitive qualification mark to be able to be entered into this race. So was happy to be able to go and compete in this, and made a kind of a good little trip. We were also going to be going to Florida for my family vacation, so it was kind of en route. We did a little bit more of a more eastern drive on the way down to Florida. So it kind of worked out where I could kind of peak my season into doing this race and then taking a little bit of a break for the summer and spending some time with the family and the wife, and kind of put running on the back burner for a little bit, which is always a good thing to kind of reset and everything. But so we went down. I worked a half day on Friday just to just kind of maximizing all my PTO. I had a lot of it pretty much used for this next week of vacation, so I needed to work a half day on Friday, and then drove down to Tennessee, and they had us up in a hotel there for Friday night and Saturday night, and it was pretty cool. It was right on, I guess the like Kingsport, Tennessee is not a huge city; it's pretty small. It, to me, it looked like it probably was a little bit bigger back in the day when a little bit more of the U.S. Economy was probably dependent on like river ports, like actual commercial shipping through the river, and so it was a little bit smaller of a town. Actually, one of my uncle texted me. His uncle by marriage, I didn't know. He texted me and said that he grew up in Kingsport and he was from Kingsport. So when he heard that I was racing there, he gave me a recommendation of a restaurant and stuff. So that was cool to see. I didn't know that that he grew up there, and pretty small town, but it seemed like the Crazy Eights 8K road race was a pretty big community festival and a pretty big community event. There were a lot of people of all ages there to support it, people to run it, some different charity events racing it as well. So super cool atmosphere. A lot of right around the football stadium was at the high school football stadium is where we started outside of it and we finished inside of it. That area was packed with people. It was super awesome. Loud music, DJs, tons of people lining the streets. And then you kind of like disappear into these neighborhoods that are basically pitch black with some candlelight. They said they passed out some like uh, battery powered candles to put inside white paper bags to put along the streets, but you couldn't see them besides like maybe when you got to like 2 feet from them. It was pretty dark, like unbelievably dark. And which I think kind of played a little bit of a disadvantage to if you weren't in the pack right away. Like you would lose the pack if they were 10 yards ahead of you, 15 yards ahead of you. I remember at certain points, like feeling like I was completely alone. And then all of a sudden we would see a street light. And then there was a guy only like 20 meters ahead of me. And I was like, oh, shoot. Like I got to start connecting with this gap. I thought I was completely alone. And so it was a very interesting race. I haven't raced at night with no lights. I've raced at night in the, like on the track and things, but so that was a little bit different. But we've raced a ton in college at night itself, and kind of just try to stick to my normal routine, and that is kind of break the day up in almost 2 days. So the first part of the day is, wake up, get your breakfast, kind of go through the days a little bit. I try to do like a little shakeout run, about 10 minutes or so, just pretty slow, just to get the legs moving, eat some lunch, that kind of thing. And then I kind of try to take a little bit of a nap, relax. If I can't fall asleep, at least relax a little bit, get my feet up, and then kind of take that part as my second part of the day and get ready for, shower, get everything ready, get the food ready, eat a little bit of some food, kind of like I would for a morning race. Had that been like 6 o'clock, ready for a 9 a.m. race. It was kind of the same way. I try to split up 6 p.m. to a 9 p.m. race. Um, so that wasn't too bad. They gave us shuttles and everything, so we got over to the course. They had locker rooms for us, which was sweet. So that was pretty nice. I think overall, I didn't change anything from eating standpoint. I took bicarb again this week. Not sure how much it really. Been taking the blank bicarb. Not sure if I'm 100% of a fan of it yet. I feel like I had better benefits from the Morton one, so I might try and switch back to Morton. I feel like I haven't had the kind of feelings I had when I had the Morton one, or maybe I'm just not as good a sheep, so I'm not sure exactly, but that's what I chalk it up to. But yeah, going into the race, the whole thing I wanted to do was just be ready for kind of a like any scenario. If it was tactical, I knew I could be there late in the race, and then would just have to be ready to make a bold move to kind of stay with the group. It was not the case this time. Andrew Colley, shout out Andrew Colley for he's been on a tear this year. He blasted us from the gun, like absolutely blitzed the first 200 meters. I remember looking down at my watch about a quarter mile in, and maybe I shouldn't have looked down, but I did. And it was we were going like 4:15 pace, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready for 240 through the K on the roads and in the dark." And there's a couple hills and stuff through here in the first half at least, and so I tried slowing it down just a little bit, and then we're another quarter mile in, so probably half mile in. I look down, I'm still running like 420 pace, and it was just very quick. We ended up running the mile at like 435, and the rest of the race was kind of just a lot of in no man's land. I didn't want to go with that main pack. I thought some guys would come back. They did not come back as much as I thought. Couple people came back on me, and I think I was 10th place through 4K, and then I beat 13th overall. So nobody really came back to me. A couple people caught me, and just slowly died, kind of a slow death out there on those roads. It was brutally humid. Like I don't think I've sweat as much in a race than I have right then. It was unbelievable. Made the bluegrass 10K feel like an Antarctica kind of race. So it was interesting. There were a lot of turns, very dark. Not sure if that was really much of a factor, other than it definitely probably didn't help. Um, but a lot of the race I kind of ran alone, ran a little bit with our evening double podcast track club member, Aiden O'Gorman. He ended up beating me, and they running a pretty good race in like 23:45 or 23, a little right around 23:50, and ran a great race. Um, both he and I were thinking we could have done a lot better. Kind of a weird race. So shout out to all the guys that had a great one. I think now if I go into that and do that again next year, if that's like a U.S. championship kind of race, I think experience on that course will probably play in your favor. Um, but overall, like I can't be too upset with it. It was a solid performance and my first USA race, USA championship race, and um, was really hoping for top 10. Top 10 got a little bit of some prize money too, so that would have been good for some gas money. But uh, overall, it was pretty solid. I think I more so learned a lot than I did take away from. Like, it wasn't a huge, I guess, accomplishment in my mind, but it was a good learning experience. I think there's a lot more to improve on, but I learned a lot. Is what I'll take away from this one.
Yeah, no, that's great. And Kingsport's in pretty far east Tennessee, which is a pretty hilly area. Was it a hilly course?
I thought it was pretty hilly. Like there were some there were some flats and there were a couple of downs, but the downs were a little steep where it almost felt like it was pretty hard on the body. And then some of the ups were pretty long and deceiving, especially in the dark. I think it was a pretty hilly course, and the last maybe 2 miles, or no, probably the last mile was pretty flat and a little downhill. But the first four, I think, were pretty rolling. Just with you would turn and go up a hill, and then you would maybe go down a pretty steep hill, and then flatten out, and then go right back up. It was a little hilly, but I never run a really hilly road race. Definitely probably took a little bit out of me. I was a little nervous to like full send down some hills in case it came back to bite me at the end, just from like the pounding on the legs. But it was definitely hilly, and the area around it was super hilly. That was probably the flattest they could have made the course, but it was super hilly from like where we were driving in and around for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's at that area, it's almost impossible to be able to um, try and get something that's flat. Um, I guess my last question for you for it is, are you still healthy? No issues.
Yeah, fully healthy. The knee, I think it was just kind of a flare up of the like kind of. I would say, like, kinda chronic issues I've been having with it. I'm gonna try and get some imaging done in the next couple weeks just to see if, there's any kind of relief I can do from a exercise standpoint or PT standpoint or something like that. Um, and just make sure I'm not doing any further damage to the knee. It's kinda gone away and come back in a lot of different parts of my journeying, in running, and never really had a correlation of what aggravates it, what doesn't. It's just kind of a fluctuating thing of it hurts a lot and then it kind of goes away, and then it hurts a lot, it kind of goes away. So probably try to get on that a little bit just to make sure I'm not going to have anything come up in the build for the half. I do think that kind of maybe played in a little bit of effect of the first mile or so in that race, just being a little flat. I think that knee scared me a little bit on Wednesday, and I kind of was like, well, I kind of got to shut it down a little bit this week and just get to the line. And I think maybe I backed off a little bit too much, and that workout kind of had to wasn't able to finish on Wednesday for that pre-meet kind of thing. Maybe feel a little bit flat. So overall, that's probably not what affected it all the way, but it probably did not help the sting of the first 800 that the race was like. But yeah, fully healthy, ready to roll. I'm excited to take a little bit of a downtime here on family vacation and just recoup and let the body kind of go. I really didn't take much of a break last year after my last collegiate track season, getting all the way through till now, maybe just a couple of days. So it's been a very big build with a little bit of fluctuation for peaking and stuff. But it's been a long time I've been going, so kind of ready mentally for a little bit of break. But say it's already Tuesday, and I'm already kind of got an itch to get back into it. So
That's how it works.
I'm excited. Yeah, it does. It works every time like that. You're ready to be done, and then you take a couple of days off, and you're going a little stir crazy. So
Yeah. Is there anything that you would do different if you did it again?
yeah, I think, and what I'm doing for this half already is mapping out the full thing all the way, the whole build, getting that done all the way, trying to give myself a little bit less of the kind of the illusion of choice that I have, kind of making it more like I'm my coach giving myself something, not that I'm going to choose every day what I'm going to do. And I think I maybe peaked a couple times a little early with some different road races throughout the season because I was going for a long time and didn't have that fluctuation in racing to an A race. I was kind of like, oh yeah, I'm really fit. I might hop in this race, and then kind of get back into base training, and then get back into kind of race work. And I think I kind of jumped back and forth between those a few too many times, and I think that kind of ultimately made me feel a little bit flat toward the end. But at the same time, I was working out really well, so I'm not a huge, or I'm not like disappointed or upset that I did that. I think I trained really well and balanced working and training really well. I was proud of myself for the build and staying very consistent. But I do think I'm going to map it out a little bit different going into half with maybe like one B race, but mainly like this is the A race, this is the 15-week block. I'm not going to differentiate from the program to go run a random race along the way. So I think that that's kind of what I'm going to do a little bit different just to be a little bit more specific going into that one.
Yeah, that's actually a great transition because that's actually what I want to talk to you about. Transitioning, you finish this block here, you ran the race, and then you're going to be going into your next block. And you said you want downtime, which I think is great and something that runners need to prioritize. I'm the first to admit I want to get right back into it. I want to go. How long are you going to take on this downtime? And when you say downtime, I'm assuming that doesn't mean like just no miles. It's probably
Yeah.
just like some easy miles or whatever. Just explain, how long you're gonna take. What are those down weeks gonna look like?
Yeah. So I'm definitely one that get gets the itch. Like I was saying just a minute ago, I was alluding to is I get the itch to get right back into it. There's not very many seasons I feel like, unless you're like a Josh Kerr and you end your season right now. There are very few seasons you end completely satisfied. And that was one thing I remember, like my middle school coach telling me that when we were younger. He was just like, You can be happy, but don't be like, or you can be satisfied, but don't, or no, you can be happy, but don't be satisfied. Don't get satisfied with where you're at. Because not that we weren't working hard and we weren't accomplishing good things. It was like more of a, I took it from a motivation side of things. It's like, you know what, you're right. I can appreciate where I'm at, but I can also strive for more. So it's hard for me to take downtime. I have to really make sure that I'm doing it. This week, I'm on vacation. It's a lot easier to take downtime when you plan your season to be ended and then downtime on like a family vacation or a trip, because there are some things that you probably want to do instead of run. So, I've been just kind of sitting around the beach and, hanging around the pool. My mom and dad are down here too. So we got a couple friends. So we're just kind of relaxing. It's been really nice. So I haven't run Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. I probably won't run Wednesday. So I'll take like 4 days all the way off. And I'll probably start running some easy miles the rest of the week, Thursday through Sunday. And the next week kind of be like a full week of regular runs, and then probably the following week after that, get back into fartlek some threshold and long run and stuff, and get back into it that way. That'll kind of leave me with roughly a 14-week build into the half, and I'm not starting from scratch. I'm in great shape. 4 days off isn't going to take anything out from me. It's more of like I won't capitalize on this fitness I have right now for the next 2 or 3 weeks just to make sure my body's not overfried, and then get ready for that like 14-week or so build into that half, which I think you know probably is a good amount. I think 16 to 20 is a long way to build. That 12 to 14 I think is great. 16, I think, if you have 16 weeks, just make sure you don't overcook it. But I think 16 weeks is a great amount of time too. So we'll be sitting around like that 14 and a half to 15 weeks here until Indy half. And um, it'll be a little bit of some one workout a week and a quality long run, and then kind of transition into like 2 workouts a week and a long run, and that kind of just fluctuate back and forth between that to get ready for the half. And um, yeah, so that's kind of what I'm doing for now. But I'll at least take the rest of tonight and tomorrow off, and just kind of recoup and let the body rest.
Yeah, that's a good analogy of how to do it. Some people who might be just getting into their fall marathon, half marathon block or whatever they're doing. I think Keaton hit it right on the head with what he said. If you have 16 weeks, I think that's good. But I think it really varies on who you are and where you're at in your training. So for someone like me, I've been training pretty hard here, for a 5K and a 100 miler. I know it's kind of joking around, that it's like kind of silly to do both, but I actually am doing speed and a lot of distance. So I am going to be able to do both of these, hopefully. Um, but I'm not training at all for a marathon. I'm not in marathon shape. I haven't really done any work on a long run in 2.5 months. Basically just doing speed threshold work and then maybe a little steady work on a long run. But I'm going to be ready post that 100 miler to get into like a 12, 13 week build for CIM. And the reason I only need 12, 13 weeks because I'm going to have a really strong base. If I didn't have that strong base, I think that you would need that extra 4 weeks to help grow that base. I think a whole marathon, half marathon build is really 12 weeks of good training. If you go longer, all that is just base building before that. That's just kind of my opinion when it comes to that type of training. That's kind of how I coach, how I kind of coach myself as well. That's kind of how I like to look at it. But yeah, I just want to throw my 2 cents in there and looking forward to what Keaton can do here in his half marathon coming up.
Are you getting ready for your next training block, chasing a PR, training for your first marathon? Or maybe you're just tired of getting generic training plans and AI coaches that are giving you impossible splits? That's where we come in. If you're looking for coaching that's actually built around you, your schedule, your goals, and your life, we'd love to help. I coach through KT Running Company, specializing in individualized run coaching for any athlete from high school, college, and road racing looking to reach the next level. Eric coaches through Stride Core Fitness, offering personalized run coaching along with strength training and Pilates to help you stay healthy, build durability, and perform your best. If you're interested in working with either of us, send us a message on Instagram or check out the links in the show notes to schedule a free call. We'd love to learn about your goals and help you put together a plan that actually works for you. Now, let's get back to the episode.
I guess a question that I have, Keaton, for that is you've never done, your longest race is probably what, like a 10K?
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
15. So this is like double the distance for you. Like this is brand new. Do you have a kind of a plan on what you want to get to for weekly mileage? Like, and I know you said up to maybe 2 workouts per week, but um, what do you have an idea of like kind of where you want to get to when you're peaking?
Yeah, I think, last fall, I think, in college, we trained probably a little bit more like half marathon 10K guys than we did 5K 10K guys. And I think, granted, with probably a little bit more specificity toward the end of the block, I think I was in great half marathon shape in cross country season last year, and I had run PRs from the 8K to the 10K and was, running sub 70 and half marathon splits in a quality long run. So it was like some things that were going really well, just leaning into, more mileage, threshold kind of work. I think, and I was only running about 80 to 85 miles a week. I don't think I got much more than about 88 during that build. This one will be a little bit more. I think I'm going to try to run 85 to 90 miles a week. Um, I've done that in the past. I've run almost 100 miles a week for months and months at a time and had success with it and been healthy. But this past year, I kind of had more success being a little bit lower and a little bit fresher. So I think it would just be a little bit of a balance of learning about myself during the next 6 to 8 weeks of how I recover from a little bit of an increase in threshold volume and quality volume. Because I think, for example, like a staple Tuesday morning session for me would be like 3 by 2 mile. And I think in a half marathon block, it might end up being like 4 by 2 mile. And then, you come back for your double threshold session. So it's be a couple of things that I'll probably tweak to add more on the quality side of things. I don't know how much more I'll increase on the regular days, easy runs, long run kind of things, depending on how the quality long run kind of stuff would work. So I'd say between 85 and 90 is probably where I'll end up. I think you can run a great half marathon off that distance. You don't have to just hit the magic 100 to feel fit all of a sudden. I think sometimes it even I am subject to this too. Is like 100 seems awesome. Like that might be like that's like almost when you're like a freshman or sophomore in high school or whatever it is, and you put 245 plates on your bar and you bench press 135. You're like, yeah, that's it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't improve doing other things. So um, I'm gonna try and stay between that as long as it's being balanced and healthy with work balance and stuff. But that'll probably be the mileage I'm looking at. More so just kind of leaning into the increase of threshold and increase of like emphasis on the long run is probably what I'll do.
Yeah. Talking about threshold, I did another double threshold today. I freaking love it. It is
Love
like
it.
you just feel so accomplished when you finish it, you know? And it's nothing crazy. Like it's not like you're really busting your ass, you know, both times. Like it's a very solid workouts. I did 6 by mile in the morning and then 16 by 400 in the afternoon, all on the track. A lot of track today, but it just makes you, I don't know, it makes you feel so accomplished. Like you did 10 miles of work, you know, spread out over almost 20 miles for me today, which is obviously a big day, but it's something that like if you get to, you know, your aerobic capacity to be able to do something like that, I just feel like every time I do it I get better. I
Oh yeah.
feel like you don't get worse, that's for sure. I mean, and you know that, you know, your heart rate shouldn't get too high. It's going to be a sustainable heart rate. At least it should, or you're probably doing it wrong. And you know, every time I do it, it just feels good. So
Yeah.
that's it's I love it.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you. This is my experience, but I was gonna ask you like when you do a double threshold and your second threshold session is probably shorter but slightly faster than your morning threshold,
Yeah.
and then you do that for a couple weeks, like, man, how much easier does the morning threshold feel when you're going that like 5:20, 5:30? Like that rhythm feels so much easier and more, um, I guess, like recreatable and like something you can do more and more that I think is is a great benefit to double threshold is just your running economy and your perception of pace. I think it makes it feel so much better.
Oh yeah. It's it's night and day. Like you see something on the plan that says like um I don't know, say a pretty big one like a 4 or 5 by 2K. Um, in a progression. That's not a double threshold day. And you're like, okay, that's gonna be tough. But then you see like 5 by mile, which is not that much different, like at the threshold, the start of a double threshold day.
Yeah.
And it just feels so much easier. It just feels like it's not much. You can knock it out of the park, and it just gives you a lot of confidence, in my opinion. I feel like my threshold number has really started to come down. I mean, it was 540. I thought I got it down towards 530. Now it feels like it's down towards 520 now, because I felt
Yeah.
pretty comfortable on those 520 miles this morning. Closed in like 512 because I had some left in me. I probably shouldn't have,
Yeah.
especially because I kind of felt that this afternoon. I mean, the 400s are fine. You can get through them, but I definitely felt my leg fatigue in them. But it's there. It's definitely there.
Yeah. That's what my buddy's got a lactate meter, and I think I'll probably test a little bit this summer and fall just to kind of get a little bit of an idea as we get a little bit more dialed in for the half. But going off that, you've been going through, like, fitness is coming along. You've been going through some double T session stuff. Things are going well. You got a 5K this week, right?
Yeah.
And then another 5K in about 10 or 11 days time. So what are we going for this weekend? And then what are we going for next weekend?
Yeah, so they're two totally different races. I just signed up for this one on Thursday, literally the other day, because it's to support the Molly Johnson Foundation, which it's I don't know the whole background of it, but I know the Corfedge guys support it and are all a part of it. So I didn't really have anything on Thursday, so I was like, oh, I'll run it. It's
Nice.
at a local church. It's like a festival they have there. But yeah, I plan on going. I plan on putting on my alphas, and I'm just gonna look around and see what high schoolers want to dance.
Hi.
That's basically what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna run whatever pace the first guy goes out at. Maybe not, what they go out at. Sometimes, these kids go
Yeah.
out extremely fast, so I don't bother there. But whether it's to try, maybe have to try to break 16, maybe it's around 18, I don't care. I'm just gonna kind of run with the leaders and try to get a win, have some fun, and
Yeah.
uh, supporting a good cause. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
But the one on August 1st at the track, that one is going to be like, I'm gonna be ready to go. Like, that's gonna be my serious one. I've done a lot of speed work. I'm gonna try to pay it off, because that's basically going to be the end of like my speed work. Maybe I'll do it for a week or two more, because 100 miler will be about 3 weeks after that. Probably after that will be more specific towards longer distance running. Not as much speed, but I'm gonna throw everything at it. I mean, my PR is 15:52 in March on the roads in that risky whiskey row 5K. It was
Whiskey Row 5K.
Yeah, there you go.
Goodness,
Keaton won that
right.
thing, running away. But I thought I had more then. I remember it being a pretty warm day. It's a little bit of like a headwind that last
Yeah.
mile. I thought I had maybe 5 to 10 seconds more than that. So I don't see why I can't run 15:30. Um, that's going to be the number I'm going to be going for. Maybe I feel good. Maybe I go a little quicker. Unfortunately, there's a big crew that's going to be trying to break 15. I don't think I'm in that crew. Um, Maybe that day I just say F it and try to go for it. I don't know. I think that would be kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, maybe I go out hot with that and I can hold on. That's a tactic some people tend to use. We'll see how it goes. But I mean, the quicker paces have felt so much better than they've had in the past. So I definitely feel like I'm definitely in a big PR shape, and I hopefully can pay it off. Again, if that evening it's like what your race was, 85 degrees and humid,
Yeah.
it's going to be tough to do, but
Yeah.
hopefully
It's
it's not.
Yeah, I was gonna say the heat and humidity definitely plays a big factor, but if you gotta just, like, kinda compartmentalize and, like, put that in your back of your mind and forget about it and let other people think about it, and that kinda will give you the mental edge, I think, at the end of the race is, when somebody's, like, complaining about the heat before, and just don't let that get to you. Just kinda trust, be like, "Hey, they're complaining about the heat. When it gets hot, they'll give up, I won't." That's kind of a thing I always like to kind of think about, even though sometimes the heat does get you no matter what. So,
Yeah.
but you got the 5K. You've been putting in over a couple 100-mile weeks in a row. Heat running in the afternoon. You've been doing that to get ready for your half marathon or your 100-miler. What do you think are going to be the two or a couple biggest keys to get ready for this 100 after? Because we're about to be in August, and so we're almost up on that 100-miler.
Yeah, I truly believe it's 80% mental, 20% physical. I know, I don't know, maybe it sounds cocky, but I know I can do it.
Yeah.
I just firmly believe, like, it's not like I'm trying to run a 7-minute pace. Like, I'm gonna be running probably 10-minute pace plus, 10 to 12-minute pace in that heat and on the grass and sand and on the farm, whatever it is. It's just gonna be mental because I know there's gonna be times you're gonna come in, you're just gonna want to quit. There's gonna be times, it's a 10K loop, so it's 18 of them. There's gonna be times where you see the car and you're like, I can't do it anymore. There's gonna be those times where you're gonna want to quit. I think it's gonna be a big mental game. As long as I'm mentally prepared, and I think outside of just mental, I think also that I'm physically prepared, fueling, clothes, stuff like that, where I don't get like a trench foot or something like that. Like that's for like a race like that is very possible. Um, I think I need to have a really good plan. If I execute my plan and mentally tough, I think I'll be fine. That's at least what I hope for. I mean, I run a lot of miles in the last few years. I know I can do it at this slower pace. I just need to be able to put my head down and do it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I think a lot of that's got to be mental. I think physically you can prepare for that, but mentally, I think that's going to be the biggest edge. Is your body can probably go pretty far, but your mind is what's going to be put you over the edge and go that last, dare I say, the last 73 miles or 74 miles. But but yeah, we'll touch into more of that in the coming episodes as we get a little bit closer and wrap up some of these 5Ks that you got going on. But let's talk a little bit about, you just got back from vacation. I'm on vacation now. Let's give a little bit. You were in Gulf Shores. I'm in West Palm, so hot areas.
No kidding.
What are some things that you did to like kind of stay focused on training while you're on vacation? And then kind of, do you continue to do workouts? Where do you go to try and find the best routes? Are you just going out the door of the hotel and hoping for the best? What are those kind of things? Do you kind of do you Google the area and try to find some stuff? Like what kind of goes through your routine when you go to a new place?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, shout out Gulf Shores, Alabama. That was a great trip. Never been there before. Legion got a direct here from Louisville straight down there. It was cheap. It was easy. It was a great trip. We'll definitely go back. Um, but yeah, it's really just coming down to being being determined to stay on track with what you're trying to do. When it comes to trying to find routes, I always just look. I use Google Maps and just put it on like the satellite mode and just see where there's sidewalks, where if there's any parks or anything. Shout out Gulf State Park. Man, that I will miss that park. That was an awesome park. There's 28 miles of trails through there. A lot of it's on bridges. A lot of it has canopies, which helped a lot with the heat. I mean, it was brutal down there. First day, I just went out west, and it was just like a 2-lane highway with water on both sides, and it was basically just like sand dunes. And we got there kind of late, or went to bed late as well. So I kind of prioritized some sleep. Didn't start till like 10, and I was doing my long run for 16, and it was. I found a beach hose or beach shower and just like rinsed under it like twice on my way back. So it's kind of saved me. But yeah, when it comes to that, it's just staying determined, getting up, getting it done because, you're on vacation, you want to relax and stuff, which is fine, but you can still get up at 7 a.m. and go for a run. I haven't been on a ton of real long vacations. So, I can usually kind of avoid the workout on a vacation if I can. I'll try to do one like right before I leave and then right as I get back. That's kind of what happened on this one. If you have to do it, do it. Find it. I'm sure if you look close enough or just also you can look on Strava if you. I don't pay for Strava, but if you did, like you can get like the segments and stuff, so you can kind of find where other people have run. Um, or just literally a lot of times, I mean, depending where you are, like everywhere in Gulf Shores is flat. So you can
Yeah.
probably find somewhere to do some type of flat work. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of what my takeaways.
I was gonna say that's a good point. I feel like I have this app called Footpath. I don't pay for the premium version or anything, but it definitely gives you a good satellite view of the city of where you're at, and you can like click the started route, and it'll show you like how far you are, what's the elevation plot of that. So that's what I do a lot. And I also just kind of look for a lot of where you can find a mile or 2 mile loop of a neighborhood. Look at the elevation plot. If it's slightly flat, like boom, that's your workout spot. Look for a high school track, drive by it maybe the night before, maybe run it on the morning run or something, see if it's going to be open to do a workout in the evening. And if not, then pivot to hopefully maybe you can find a treadmill. You can always do a day pass at Planet Fitness and get a treadmill for the evening. So it's not too bad. I just think you hit it right on. It's just staying motivated, staying determined. It's gonna be hot. If I'm here at the beach, like it's gonna be hot no matter what time I run. It's gonna be worse in the day, but if I get up in the morning, what I can do is I can run and finish my run and jump in the ocean or the pool.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
if I get through an hour of running, like I'm gonna be in the pool. It's fine. And shout out to the beach showers. I've done that a few
Mm.
times where you just get up to near a hotel and just hose down in that little shower tower, and where you knock off all the sand and continue on your run. Just try to get your feet out of it so you're not running in wet shoes, but they end up being wet because of the sweat anyways. But yeah, that's the way to do it. Just stay determined. I guess pro tip, don't pick a hot location if you're going to pick the vacation, but a beach is nice. So you just got to get
Mhm.
it done sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Last thing I can say is I made a reel about it the other day, but like it's crazy how like if you go for like a 10-mile morning run, like first day of vacation, you probably can find every spot you need for the rest of the trip.
Oh
If
yeah.
like you're unfamiliar with the area, like I ran through Gulf Shores, I was like, we're going to that park. There's free bikes to rent. I know exactly where they are. You
Yep.
did it. You loved it. We had a great time. I was like, that place, that looks like an awesome spot for like drinks after dinner. So we went there, it
Yep.
was on the beach. It was a great spot. Like I was like, these couple places look good for dinner. There's a diner back this way if we want to do a breakfast one day. This seems like the easiest way to get to the beach. You know, there's a mini putt course over this way. Like I just found like everything. You
Yeah.
find everything and you can plan it out literally in just a morning run, which is, I think, really cool. Ever since I started running, that's one thing I really enjoy about like a vacation run. It's like you can figure out probably the entire week or however long you're there just from that one run. If you're just observing everything, it goes by quick too.
Yeah, it does. That's a good point. I got a couple things as we wrap up here. Um, you've kind of put through a huge summer block of speed. What has been your favorite workout you've done this block, if you can think of one?
So I wouldn't say I had a favorite workout.
Or
I would
style?
say I liked the progression that I did threshold. So I started with 800s threshold. This was all single threshold. Then I did Ks. Then I did mile. Then I did 2K. Then I did mile and a half. Then I did 2 mile. And then I did 3 mile. I'm done with that now. That was ended about 6 weeks ago, so I've gone from there. But that was like the beginning of my block. Basically, was just slowly same speed, but slowly getting longer and longer distance. And that really you can feel yourself improve week over week. Those first 800s at threshold, they hurt. They were I was struggling. I was just getting back into it. Then the Ks felt, they're hurting, but they're a little better. Miles started feeling a little better. The 2Ks, when I really started, okay, now I'm a month in, now I'm actually feeling pretty good. And then when I did 3x2 mile and then 2x3 mile back to back weeks, those felt very solid, closing stronger than I started. And that was one like series of workouts, I guess you can say, that I felt like, okay, I'm back. That's kind of what it felt like. That I like that series.
Nice. I think for me, I really liked. I feel like I find myself in some races that aren't necessarily always time trials. I think sometimes they're a little bit more tactical, just with different people holding their cards until they want to go try and win. And I think so. A couple things I did I only did one true workout of this, and I think I'm going to incorporate a little bit more, especially if I do a little bit of a full track season next week or next year. Is going to be some pace change, different like pace change within the rep rather than just like progression of reps slower to faster. I think a pace change of a rep is a really underrated tool to like train how you can race and how you can respond, because sometimes, if you're training to try and win a race and it's a slower race, then all of a sudden people like blast off into, pretty quick pace. Like, yeah, you might think like, oh, I can run this pace pretty easy, and then I can run that faster pace that they're doing fairly easy too. However, shifting gears between the two is a pretty underrated skill. I think you have to specifically train to be able to like shift that gear, feel comfortable, and keep rolling. So I think that's something I'll probably do a little bit more of. I did do it once during the blog. I really liked it. I think it probably would be a little bit more beneficial to me. Last two things I've got for you, and I'll say mine first. Most underrated and overrated recovery tool. Underrated, I think, is I kind of been leaning into some compression socks recently. I love the like just throwing up your legs with and wearing some compression socks during the day if I'm at work. I think it's helped my calves and like lower extremity fluid just kind of like keep pumping and stuff. I'm on my feet a lot. I feel like the weight gravity works while you're on your feet a lot. You kind of just pull a lot of excess fluid and soreness down in the lower extremity. So I think that's my underrated tool. Overrated, I continue to say ice bath unless you're peaking for a race, is what I'd say.
Yeah. Underrated for me is the roller. I think that really helps. I think it's more efficient than any type of stretching you can do. In my opinion, it depends on the person. Overrated's kind of tough because I think everything recovery is good, but I just wrote it down while you were talking. I wrote electrolytes. Um, I think maybe it's more like the amount of different kinds of electrolytes. I think there's really only a couple. I would rather go on the sodium side than the electrolyte side, especially right now. But like a Gatorade electrolyte, I don't really think it helps that much. Just get water in and some sodium and maybe some other those seltzers or spindrifts or whatever. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's my opinion.
No, I think that's
I'll
right.
take probably.
That's pretty much all we've got for this week. I was gonna say, kind of a little bit of a teaser for the next episode to keep you guys interested. We've got a pretty good guest for next week. We'll release it a little bit later this week. Um, big time race, big time race director, and he's going to give us some great insight into some of the inner workings of what it takes to put together an elite field of a major marathon. I'm not saying it's a world major marathon. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it is at a pretty big marathon. And it's some people's A races for the years. So super excited about, kind of learning some of this. Eric, do you have anything else to tease the guests about with this one?
Nope. All I can say is some people call it the fastest race in the world.
Some people say it.
We'll
Some
see
people
it.
run their fastest race.
Yeah.
So
We'll
who knows?
see you on episode 23. We appreciate you all listening.
Yep. Peace out.